We continue now with our video. This will be Romans 12:2, number 7. The previous one was number 6, and both of these go in the Bible folder. Now, we just read that parable of Jesus about the Pharisee and the tax collector. The Pharisee was put himself as a high person and expected God to look at him as a high person because of all that he did, was praying to himself about himself. But the tax collector didn't pray at all to anyone else but God and recognized that he was a sinner and needed God's help. You see how opposite these two were when they talk about comparing. Now, Jesus said, "Whoever exalts himself shall be humbled." Therefore, the Pharisee, in God's eyes, had to be humbled for him to get anywhere. But the tax collector was already humbled, and so he would be exalted because he didn't do anything but look at himself as a downloaded person, and God will exalt him. Now, let's read this comparison article just below that from this Apply the Word New King James Bible. It says here, the Pharisee in Jesus' parable was so happy with himself that he wanted his prayer with a comparison. God, I thank you that I am not like other men. But the tax collector in the story did not consider himself worthy even to stand near the temple or raise his eyes heavenward. His prayer would not have been more different. God, be merciful to me, a sinner. The man who understood that he was a sinner, as all human beings are, shows us the path to accurate self-knowledge based on an honest humility and a yearning to be like Christ. But whenever we build our identity and self-worth by looking down on others, we set up our own demise. Sooner or later, someone will come along who outshines us. Feeling better about ourselves by finding fault with others, we also put us in a lonely place because no one gathers many friends by declaring superiority. And then under this, it tells us to go back to Romans 12, verse 3. So you see how it's interesting that this Bible doesn't have any cross references between the columns like many do. But the cross references are not only in the articles, but they cross reference back and forth. And here's a perfect example of that. So you see, in this Bible, do we not only get the good translations, and we get word studies on people, and we also get sections where it shows how it's different in other types of Bibles and so forth, but we get articles that get us deeper into what we've just read. And you see what we've done. We've done a comparison now between two parts of the Bible, and you can see how they adjust and adjunct and compare and be like one another. So we get a very good idea of what this whole thing is about. So Romans 12:2 is one of the most important parts of the entire Bible because we have these two things: to be transformed or not to be transformed. And how do we become transformed? By the renewal of our mind. How do we renew our mind? We put away the old mind and we pick up the new mind and we use it. We don't just think about it, we do it. And we do it as God wills us. We also learn the will of God. Not only that, but how God looks at us as we live.